We now continue into 2 Corinthians chapter 8, where Shaul presents generosity not as pressure, but as grace, calling the Corinthians to complete their promise giving through willingness, readiness, Christ-shaped self-emptying, and covenant fairness among the holy ones. This chapter does contain explicit Tanakh groundings. These references support the burden of the chapter: grace displayed, to readiness urged, to Messiah's poverty remembered, to equality sought, to integrity guarded, to generosity completed. Yehovah, make us generosity clean, willing, and full of grace. Free us from delay, self-protection, and narrowed hands. Teach us to give as those who have received from Messiah. Yehovah El Chesed, the God of covenant kindness, who supplies grace to his people, so they may overflow in willing generosity. Yehovah El Chesed, Kadosh, 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 holy, holy, holy. Please fill me and lead me, and cover me and stir me, and speak through me with your Ruach Kodesh, your Holy Spirit, your set-apart breath, that I may speak your written words with boldness and humility to those who listen. I ask all these things in Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ, the Messiah, the Anointed, the Aleph and Tav's name. Amen. We'll start with the Shema. Listen and obey. Children of Yehovah, pay careful attention and respond. Yehovah is our power and authority. Yehovah works in unity, echad, with himself, and you shall act upon your love, ahava, to Yehovah with your power and authority, with your thoughts and mind, with your entire body, with all the muchness that you have. Yod, hey, vav, hey. Hand, behold, nail, behold. 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Now, brothers, we must tell you about the grace God has given the congregation in Macedonia. Despite several trials, and even though they are desperately poor, their joy has overflowed in wealth of generosity. I tell you, they have not merely given according to their means, but of their own free will, and they have given beyond their means. They have begged and pleaded with us with the privilege of sharing in this service of God's people. Also, they didn't do this in a way we had expected, but first they gave themselves to the Master, which means, by God's will, to us. All this has led us to urge Titus to bring this same gracious gift to completion among you, since he has already made a beginning of it. Just as you excel in everything, faith, in speech, in knowledge, and in diligence of every kind, and in your love for us, see that you excel in this gift too. I am not issuing you an order, rather, I am testing the genuineness of your love against the diligence of others. For you know how generous the Master Yeshua, the Aleph and Tav, the Messiah was. For your sakes he impoverished himself, even though he was rich, so that he might make you rich by means of his poverty. As I say, in regard to this matter, I'm only giving you an opinion. A year ago, we're not only the first to take action, but the first to want to do so. Now it would be to your advantage to finish what you have started, so that your eagerness in wanting to commence the project may be matched by your eagerness to complete it, as you contribute from what you have. For if the eagerness to give is there, the acceptability of the gift will be measured by what you have, not by what you don't have. It is not that relief for others should cause trouble for you, but that there should be a kind of reciprocity. At present, your abundance can help those in need, so that when you are in need, their abundance can help you. Thus, there is reciprocity. It is in the Tanakh, it says, "He who gathered much had nothing extra, and he who gathered little had nothing lacking." Now I thank God for making Titus as devoted to you as we are, for he not only responded to our urging, but being so devoted, he is coming to you on his own initiative, and with him we are sending the brother whose work For the good news is praised in all the congregations. Not only that, he has also been appointed by the congregations to travel with us, so that the way we administer this charitable work will bring honor to the master and show our eagerness to help. Our aim is our aim in this is to show that our conduct in dealing with these substantial sums is above reproach. For we take pains to do what is right, not only in the sight of God, but also in the sight of other people. With these two, we are sending another brothers of ours, one whose diligence we have tested many times in many ways, but who is now all the more diligent because of his great confidence in you. As for Titus, he is my partner who works with me on your behalf, and the other brothers with him are emissaries of the congregations and bring honor to the Messiah. So the love you show these men will justify our pride in you to them, and through them to the congregations that sent them. What is the Hebrew word that encapsulates this chapter? Nidivut, generosity. This chapter frames giving as grace-filled willingness shaped by Messiah's self-giving and aimed at fairness among the holy ones. Tanakh spine. The explicit citation is 2 Corinthians 8 verse 15 is Exodus 16 verse 18. The Septuagint echo, likely an allusion to 2 Corinthians 8 verse 21, is Proverbs 3 verses 3 and 4. Based wording, not a formal quotation. Exodus 16 verse 18 is the direct citation in this chapter. Shaul uses the manna pattern to establish covenant fairness. One did not gather in order to dominate, and one did not go without because another hoarded. What Yehovah supplied in the wilderness becomes a pattern for generosity in the body. Proverbs 3 verses 3 and 4 should be treated differently here. It is not formally quoted, but in verse 21 carries a likely Septuagint echo in its concern for what is honorable in the sight of both Yehovah and people together. These references show that giving must be both equitable and visibly upright. Chapter flow. Shaul begins by making known to the Corinthians the grace of God has given among the assemblies of Macedonia. Their giving did not rise out of abundance first, but out of severe testing, affliction, and deep poverty. Yet in that poverty there was an overflow of joy that produced a wealth of generosity. They gave according to their ability and even beyond it, of their own accord. They begged earnestly for the favor of sharing in the service of the holy ones, showing that giving itself had become a grace they desired to participate in. More than expected, they first gave themselves to the master and then to the servants of God by his will. On that basis, Shaul urges Titus to complete among the Corinthians this same grace of giving. The Corinthians already abound in faith, speech, knowledge, earnestness, and love. Shaul now calls them to abound in this grace also. He is careful not to command in a coercive way, but to test the genuineness of their love by comparison with the earnestness of others. Then he brings in the great Christological model. Though Messiah was rich, yet for their sake he became poor, so that through his poverty they might become rich. Shaul offers judgment, not pressure. It is fitting for them to complete what they had already begun and desire to do in the previous year. The key issue is readiness of will. If the willingness is present, the gift is acceptable according to what one has, not according to what one does not have. Shaul makes clear that he is not seeking relief for others and crushing burden for the Corinthians, but fairness. At the present time, their abundance can supply the others' needs, and another time the movement may be reversed. Then comes the direct citation from Exodus 16, verse 18. The one who gathers much had nothing left over, and the one who gathered little had no lack. This places generosity as the pattern of divine provision, not human control. Shaul then thanks God for putting into Titus the same earnest care for the Corinthians. Titus not only accepted the appeal, but being very earnest, he was going on his own accord. Along with him, Shaul sent a brother praised among the assemblies for his service in the good news. This brother was appointed by the assemblies to travel with them in administering this grace gift. Shaul explains the reason for their careful arrangements to avoid blame in handling the generous gift. Here comes the likely Septuagint echo of Proverbs 3, verses 3 and 4. They aim for what is honorable not only before the master, but also before men. Another earnest brother is also sent, making the delegation even more transparent and trustworthy. Titus is described as Shaul's partner and fellow worker. The others are emissaries in the assembly and the glory to Messiah. The chapter closes by urging the Corinthians to show openly before the assemblies the proof of their love and the reason for Shaul's boasting about them. Grace received to willingness proven, to Messiah modeled, to fairness guarded, to integrity displayed. Core theme. Shaul's burden in this chapter is to redefine giving as grace rather than pressure. He does not manipulate the Corinthians with guilt, nor does he reduce generosity to mathematics alone. He shows them Macedonia, poor yet overflowing. He points them to Messiah, rich yet becoming poor. He then calls them to complete what grace has already stirred in them. True giving is willing, eager, and rooted in self-offering to the Master. The chapter also insists that generosity must be shaped by covenant fairness. Shaul is not trying to impoverish one group to enrich another or in a distorted way. He is pressing toward balance inside the body. That is why Exodus 16 verse 18 matters so much. Manna was never meant to be a system of hoarding. It revealed Yehovah's provision in a way that exposed selfish accumulation. Shaul applies that same pattern to the collection for the holy ones. Finally, the chapter holds generously together with integrity. Money handled in the name of grace must be handled cleanly. This is why the delegation is plural, transparent, and publicly honorable. The likely echo of Proverbs 3 verses 3 and 4 deepens that burden. What is done must stand honorably before both God and before people. Grace that gives must also be trusted. How can we learn to love Yehovah with our heart, soul, mind, and strength? We can love Yehovah by giving willingly from grace rather than waiting to be pushed by pressure or appearance. Love Yehovah by letting Messiah's self-emptying shape how we hold and release what we have. Love Yehovah by pursuing generosity that is both sincere in motive and honorable in practice. How can we learn to love our neighbors as we love ourselves and as Yeshua loves us? Seek to supply the real needs of the holy ones rather than guarding abundance selfishly. Give according to what Yehovah has entrusted without comparing, boasting, or shaming others. Handle shared resources in a way that protects trust, dignity, and visible integrity. How can we bear one another's burdens? Share materially so lack among the body is relieved through grace-filled fairness. Help one another move from good intentions into completed obedience, where generosity is concerned. Support transparent stewardship so no burden of suspicion or blame falls on the work. What are the top 3 fruits of the Spirit found in this chapter? 1. Generosity. Ni devot. The chapter presents giving as grace that overflows even in affliction and poverty. 2. Willingness. Ratzon. Shaul emphasizes readiness of heart, showing that acceptable giving begins with willing desire before God. 3. Integrity. Yoshur. The handling of the gift must be honorable before Yehovah and visibly upright before people. What is the mitzvah response, Torah-based? Exodus 16 verse 18. But when they measured it with the omer, whoever had gathered much had no excess, and whoever had gathered little had no lack. Each had gathered according to his appetite. Command. We will give willingly, seek fairness among the holy ones, and handle grace with clean integrity. What is the Hebrew declaration? Bi chesed, niten, v'lo, mi chafia, ki ken, natan, ha mashiach, ba adenu, ni v'chesh, yosher, lefnei, Yehovah, vigam, lefnei, idam. Nashlim et ha-chesed bi neduvot u v'emet. In grace we will give and not by compulsion, for so Messiah gave for us. We will seek what is honorable for Yehovah and also before man. We will complete this grace in generosity and truth. What is the one sentence summary? Grace gives willingly, fairly, and honorably before God and man. Now, after having read the chapter and going over it, here are some heart piercing questions. Is my giving shaped more by grace and willingness or delay and reluctance? Another. Have I allowed good intentions to remain unfinished where obedience should be completed? Another. How deeply has Messiah's poverty for my sake changed the way I hold what I have? Another. Am I seeking fairness in the body or only protecting my own comfort? Another. Do I handle shared resources in a way that is clearly honorable before God and people? Another. What part of my heart still resists cheerful generosity when real need is present? Lastly, what would it look like this week to complete a grace I have not only spoken about? We'll end with the Arianic blessing using the name. Yehovah will kneel before you presenting gifts, and he will guard you with a hedge of protection. Yehovah will illuminate the wholeness of his being toward your bringing order, and he'll provide you with love, sustenance, and friendship. Yehovah will lift up the wholeness of his being and look upon you set in place all you need to be whole and complete. Shalom, shalom.